Hello, good morning, and welcome to another episode of The Conversation here on TOS TV Network, your digital first Pan-African network. And as always, I'm not alone in search. I have with me my co-host here.
I'm Sazé. Good morning to you.
And I'm Adesiwa Osuyi. Thank you for joining the show this morning. Before we kickstart, we're going to go on a quick break, and when we do get back, it's a time to take you through developments across Africa. Do stay tuned.
Good to have you back. It's still the conversation on TOS TV, your digital first Pan-African news network. And now it's time for us to bring you development across Africa. And we begin with Central Africa Republic, where 3,000 CAR refugees flee rebel attacks to DR Congo. Now, thousands of Central Africans are seeking refuge in the Democratic Republic of Congo in Undu, the far north of DRC. 30,000 refugees from Bangaso live in precarious conditions after rebel attacks. Now, the needs of the refugees have overwhelmed local officials at the UNHCR, offering badly needed support. They offer medical screening, amongst others, for children who have been brought here. Bibi Mbele is president of the local branch of the Federation of Congolese Enterprises.
Okay, now, so this one is quite applaudable. Telecommunication giant in Africa, MTN, has announced a donation of $25 million to support the African Union COVID-19 vaccination program. Ralph Mopita, president and chief executive officer of the MTN Group, on Wednesday in Johannesburg said that the donation will help secure up to 7 million doses of the COVID-19 vaccine for health workers across the continent. This, he said, will contribute to the vaccination initiative of the Africa Center for Disease Control and Prevention, that's Africa CDC. Now, in his quote, he said the devastating impact of COVID-19 has been unprecedented and profound. Therefore, public and private partnerships are needed if we are to succeed in the fight against the pandemic. The sole objective is to restore social and economic norms for our continent and our communities, and most importantly, the determination to bring lasting solutions to the disease. Now, on January 14th, President Cyril Ramaphosa, that's President of South Africa, and chairperson of the African Union, announced that the African Union has secured a provisional 270 million COVID-19 vaccine on behalf of its member state.
Now, still in the season or still in the spirit of giving COVID-19 AIDS, the Rockefeller Foundation to expand access to COVID-19 testing and tracing in Africa. Now, the Rockefeller Foundation has announced a new grant of $12 million to the African Public Health Foundation to help expand the geographic coverage of testing and to strengthen contact tracing for COVID-19 in Africa through the African Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Africa CDC. In the quote by the president of Rockefeller Foundation, he said, equitable access to testing and tracing is essential to rapidly identify and respond to COVID-19 outbreaks until a vaccine is widely available to all. Now, he said 1 year into the COVID-19 pandemic, too many people still do not have access to the tools that they need to keep themselves, their families, and their communities healthy and safe. He said, we are pleased to work with the Africa Public Health Foundation and Africa CDC to catalyze a more efficient and inclusive response to and recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic across the continent.
Now, moving over to South Africa, this is quite an applaudable feat, actually. A startup company in South Africa wins Global Startup Award. Now, Workshop 17, a local workspace solution provider and proudly South African startup, has scooped the prestigious Global Startup Award for Best Co-working Space. The announcement was made at the virtually held awards on 27th of January 2021. Paul Kirsten, co-founder and CEO of Workshop 17, comments on receiving the globally renowned award. We are thrilled to be a winner of such an established global competition. This is a recognition for our vision to be a platform for entrepreneurship and innovation, and a tribute to the whole South African ecosystem of startups and innovators. That is quite applaudable, as I said earlier.
All right, still in the COVID-19 update, we have this one. It says Morocco kicks off coronavirus vaccination drive. Morocco on Thursday kicked off its coronavirus vaccination campaign, which will primarily target healthcare workers, security forces, and people over 75, according to Moroccan authorities. Morocco has one of Africa's most advanced vaccination programs, though the continent remains well behind richer countries such as the US or Britain in inoculating its citizens against the still spreading virus. Now, the North African Kingdom received its first shipments of vaccine doses in recent days from China's Sinopharm and Anglo-Swedish AstraZeneca. The government did not disclose how many doses it had received, but the royal palace said the country has sufficient quantities to start inoculations in the best conditions. Now, Morocco says it will get 66 million vaccine doses, covering about 80% of its 35 million population. But supply problems at AstraZeneca, which are causing political tensions around Europe, could throw off Morocco's plans. The country had initially pledged to roll out the vaccine last month, but the first doses didn't arrive until Friday.
I like how African countries are being, very proactive with finding solutions to, the second wave of the COVID-19, and everyone, is except how was it Zimbabwe that is not open to the vaccine. I think every other country. Would you take the vaccine?
Yeah, but then before I answer your question, I think I also agree with your line of thought that African leaders have shown exemplary leadership.
Yeah.
In terms of tackling the coronavirus pandemic, and it's something that we should applaud, because there's this perception or narrative of Africa before this time.
Yeah.
So I would also believe that our counterparts all over the world will be so impressed that Africa did handle the pandemic in the right way. And then to answer your question as part taking the vaccine, like I've always said in different occasions, this is not the first time we're taking the vaccine. When we were much younger, we took vaccine against polio, against malaria, and the rest of that. So it's not something new. If this has been proven and tested by scientists, and it has what it takes to mitigate against the coronavirus disease, then I think everyone should buy in. That's my own personal opinion.
Okay. It's been made compulsory anyways, in case you're thinking you're not going to take the vaccine. The presidency has said it's compulsory. It's going to be made compulsory once Nigeria gets the vaccine. Okay, so we're going to move over to our COVID-19 update for today.
TOS TV Network mobile app is now available. You can now catch up on our breaking news, stream our programs live, watch out for the latest update on sports and politics as they unfold. You can also get notifications for our upcoming programs and events. All these on our TOS TV Network mobile app, available on Apple Store and Google Play Store. TOS TV News from Africa by Africans.
Being a journalist means in-depth analysis that unravels hidden truths, that question the status quo and fact-checks government.
These criminal elements hiding under the cloak of surveillance contractors are the APC elements.
Do you have facts to prove that? Being a journalist means waking up every day with a burning desire for peace, equity, and justice for all citizens.
We're being told that the choice you have is to take the lesser of two evils.
It means patriotism via the prism of objectivity and accountability. It means giving my platform to the masses to discuss issues that matter to them.
Some of them, if they bring budget, and the budget they look. Some of them sleep. They're going to ask how much you are on. I have it.
thereby shaping government policies and laws. My name is Osasu Igbuneja, and I am the People's Journalist.
Welcome back. It's still the conversation reaching you live from the TOS TV network, your digital first Pan-African news network. And it's time for us to go straight to our newspaper review. The show is always informative, always educative, keeping you up to date with stories around the continent Africa. Now, to kickstart our newspaper review, we have the Vanguard this morning. At the top of the Vanguard, we have oil prices rise above $58.17 billion PB as stakeholders commit to output cut. And on top of that story, you have DSS warns against ethnic religious violence in Lagos, Oyo, Southeast, Kaduna, others. Stop politicizing security, says Khan. NSCIA tells federal government. And also by the side of that story, you have APC Govs, Victor Atta, NGE, Mons, Tony Momo, hails the sacrificial leadership, nationalism, and dogged fight for justice. You can find that on the Vanguard newspaper, page 15. And this is the gaping headline you can find on the Vanguard. It says, eviction, Afenifere, MBF, Pandef, Amechi, tackle NEF. And it's got about 6 riders. It says Northern elders call sectional divisive unfortunate. Northern elders call sectional divisive unfortunate. Middle Belt Forum. Nobody will lose sleep if they decide to return, says Afenifere. And then next position, shameful, disappointing, says Agbekoya. Get off your high horse, Pandev tells Northern elders. And Northern elders will set Nigeria on fire with divisive utterances, says Mbazulike Amechi. And no ethnic group should lord it over others, says Baja. Now, still on the Vanguard newspaper, you have no plan to field Jonathan in 2023, says APC. No plan to field Jonathan, Goodluck Jonathan, Nigeria's former president, in 2023, says APC. Also, under that headline, you'll find autumn to federal government. Your support for armed herders worsening insecurity in Nigeria. Your support for armed herders worsening insecurity in Nigeria. And then finally, you have on page 11, FEC okays 20 new private varsities. FEC, Federal Executive Council, okays 20 new private varsities. So there are lots of educative and informative stories right there on the Vanguard newspaper this morning.
Moving over to the Guardian newspaper from here in Nigeria, I'm going to start with this very obvious headline. Today is World Cancer Day, and then this headline is, about World Cancer Day. It said COVID-19 raising cancer deaths, says WHO and specialists. And then it has 4 riders. WHO decries rising cancer cases in Africa from 338,000 in 2002 to 846,000 in 2020. Now, patients with cancer face reduced access to care, competition for scarce resources. Breast cancer costs 18 million naira out of pocket for initial treatment. About 200 Nigerians die every day from cancer, with 32 from breast cancer, 28 from cervical cancer, 16 from prostate cancer, and 14 from liver cancer. That is quite sad, actually. And then another headline, just towards the left, is Reps panel alleges theft of $20 billion crude oil in 7 years. And other headlines here says FG, that's federal government, okays 20 private varsities, released 34 billion naira for 377 rural roads. Telcos lose 3.3 million lines to NIN SIM directive as subscriptions deep. Suspense as presidency remains mum on IGP. Why sacked service chiefs fails to end insurgency? That's coming from River State Governor Nyesom Wike. That is basically the headlines on the Guardian newspaper this morning.
All right, we'll now move to the Daily Times, and then right on top of the Daily Times, you have Momo helped Buhari in picking Osibanjo, says Ngige. Chris Ngige says Momo helped Buhari in picking Osibanjo. Now, this story is replicating itself again. Federal Executive Council approves 20 private varsities with 3.3 billion naira for power and aviation projects. Now, under that headline, you have insecurity. DSS raises alarm over alleged plans to cause religious crisis. Insecurity. DSS raises alarm over alleged plans to cause religious crisis. And on COVID-19 violation, this headline says drama as NSITF GM directors scale fence to evade arrest over COVID-19. Wow, that really sounds.
That's hilarious.
That really sounds appalling. Yeah, that's the word. Drama as NSITF GM directors scale fence to evade arrest over COVID-19. But that's just to say, what do you? Let's trash this a little bit before we move further. What can you say about this? Because it is expected that our leaders should be at the forefront in driving the strict adherence to COVID-19 directives.
Yes. It's funny because the only thing that came to my mind when you read that was, why go through all that trouble? You could just, obey instruction, wear your face mask. That's all they ask. And now you're having to scale the fence because you don't want to, be caught or anything. That's just, it's really hilarious, actually, for me.
All right, so our esteemed viewers out there and followers, you're part of our family, and your health is paramount and very important to us. So we want to urge you to keep strictly and adhere to the COVID-19 directive. It is for your own good. That's how we all stay alive together. Now, still on Daily Times, you have tribute. President Buhari, ministers honor Tony Momo, Alpha Wali. A lot of very interesting stories on the Daily Times newspaper. You should grab a copy today.
Moving over to The Nation, I'm going to start with something similar to what you read on the Daily Times. Can Islamic Council to DSS go after killers and others? The writer under that says secret police raised the alarm on plans to cause ethno-religious violence. This one says caretaker leadership in APC abnormal, says Akande. Three writers under that: ex-interim chair, membership registration wasteful. And then this is from the party. We hold Akande Tinubu in high esteem and no plan to field Jonathan in 2023, says ruling party. That's the APC. And then on top of that, just under the Nation header, it says Nigerian stocks lose 216 billion naira in 3 days. EFCC quizzes ex-governor Yari for attempting to move 300 billion naira. Now, on top of the Nation newspaper, abductors killed U.S. returnee after ransom. Protesters block highway. That is so terrible. Mayhem at Kwara APC meeting. Registration begins in Ilorin. Governor seeks AK-47 rifle licensing for Nigerians. Gunmen snatched 20 million naira equity government cash. Now, I want to hear your opinion on this headline that says Governor seeks AK-47 rifle licensing for Nigeria.
Well, it's quite unfortunate because when we get to a point where citizens can no longer trust in the security architecture of the nation, this is what you get at the end of the day, because it's time for citizens to begin to now take their security welfare into their hands, because if you look at all the stories here and there, as regards insecurity, kidnapping, violence, and all of that, it begins to inform you to say, if the state security can't cater for me as a citizen, then I think I should be able to cater for myself and my family.
But why AK-47 though? Would you carry an AK-47 or would you buy an AK-47?
Well, for me personally, I don't think I would do that. But then, like I said, a lot of people who will do that.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of people who have all of those
Weapons.
security weapons,
Yes.
and they tell you that it is strictly for defense, to defend themselves and their family. We just hope that the government of the day and the leadership across all levels, federal, state, and local levels, will begin to prioritize security, because for me that is the essence of government.
Yes.
Because you have sworn to an oath, to protect the lives and properties of your citizens,
yes.
and it is really, really important. All right, we'll move over from the Nation to Daily Trust, and on Daily Trust we have this headline that says, "Court asked to stop Adamu from parading self as IGP." Court asked to stop Adamu from parading self as IGP. And after that, we have academics express cautious optimism as federal government licenses 20 private universities. And the next one after that says, APC membership registration an aberration. This is coming from Akonde. It says APC membership registration an aberration. And then very bold on this on Daily Trust newspaper is World Cancer Day. Only 3 public radiotherapy centers in Nigeria. And it has 3 riders. It says patients decry high treatment cost. Federal government here to redeem care center pledge. Experts want treatment captured in NHIS. All right, just under that you have no ethnic group should lord it over others, says Gbajabiamila. And then we also have teenager wants surname changed after being raped by dad. Wow, that is so sad. You can find that on page 23 of Daily Trust newspaper. Teenager wants surname change after being raped by dad. And we have 3 police officers die in Ebonyi road crash. And the last one says, why Nigerians can't export beans to Europe. That seems to be a report right there on Daily Trust. So you can find that story and more informative and educative stories on Daily Trust newspaper.
Before we move over to the last newspaper headlines for this morning, I think when you, because this issue of licensing 20 new private universities, I think it's recurring on like I think over 3 dailies now, and every time that story comes up in my head, it's like, are we supposed to be
expanding or and creating more universities
or actually working on our educational system, because there's so many lapses. The quality of education in Nigeria is dropping over the years, and what we are thinking to do is to create more universities, private universities. Is that the solution now?
I think I agree. I completely agree with your thought, because we need to first of all expand the funding that is already existing for the already existing universities. Because like you said, the state of our universities, some of them is an eyesore.
Exactly.
So we need to look at how we can expand or increase the funding, so that those universities have capacity, to function at optimal level, rather than replicate opening more universities. But then it's still not a totally bad idea. But then the cross of the matter is that if we're going to open more universities, they should be up to standard.
Yes.
They should be able to compete favorably, with counterparts all over the world.
Okay, moving over to the last one for this morning. It's Nigerian Tribune, and I'm going to start with very similar headlines with something on the Daily Trust. It says, no ethnic group should lord it over the other. That's coming from Bajabiamila. And then 5 riders under that. Northern elders overheating the polity. Southern Middle Belt leaders. Buhari should not act as president of Fulani. That's coming from Benue State Governor Yortam Uromi. Women protest against killer herdsmen. That's from Edo State. Suspected herdsmen kill OPC member, abduct farmer in Ondo State. I have spoken with Fayemi over Ganduje's model. That's coming from Femi Falana. And then just at the bottom of that, Ibadan Correctional Facility rejects suspects without COVID-19 test results. Under that, FCT Task Force truncates NSTIF promotion exams. Violence rocks Kwara APC stakeholders meeting. That's on page 25. Kaduna to deliver drugs with drones to over 1,000 health facilities. That's on page 5, and that's quite applaudable, having to deploy technology to solving COVID-19 issues. Local herdsmen hiding identities of criminals. That's coming from investors. Over 400 million naira investments lost in Igangan. Price of cassava raised from 20,000 naira to 60,000 naira per ton. And then on top of that, underneath the Nigerian Tribune, we have repeated APC membership registration unnecessary. That's coming from Akonde. In 2023, no plan to field Jonathan. That's coming from the APC. FEC approves 20 private universities, and that's that one again. And on top of that, we have Gumi meets bandits in Zamfara forest. 500 have repented, he says. Crude oil worth 20 billion naira, or no, $20 billion, not accounted for between 2005 and 2012. That's coming from the reps. All that on the Nigerian Tribune. Quite interesting headlines this morning, I must tell you. And then the issues of, insecurity keeps recurring. And I thought the issue in Ondo State has been settled. And then I'm seeing suspected headmen kill OPC member and adopt up farmers. And then Uromi women are protesting, the farmer-headed clashes. It's quite appalling that we keep hearing that. Yes.
A very trending and developing story, because every single day new perspectives or new angles to the stories just keeps coming up, keeps coming up. For us, what we do here is we bring out the issues so you can tell us what you think. So that's the newspaper headlines. You can share your thoughts with us on our Twitter handle at TOS TV Network. Let's get to hear your thoughts on all of the stories we've shared with you this morning. We will go on a quick breather, and when we get back, it will be time for the big story. Do stay tuned on The Conversation.
North to South Africa, East to West Africa, TOS TV Network is your digital-first Pan-African news network, bringing you news from across the continent. Visit our website www.tostvnetwork.com and follow us on social media at TOS TV Network on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. Watch us on television, channel 138 on TSTV Africa.
Welcome back. It's still The Conversation on TOS TV, your digital first Pan-African news network. It's time for us to go into our big story this morning. Today is World Cancer Day, and that is what we would be looking at on our big story this morning. The World Cancer Day under the theme, I am and I will. Now, on The Conversation today, we're going to share key salient points and concerns from the Regional Director of World Health Organization, Dr. Matshidiso Moeti, on World Cancer Day that is celebrated 4th February 2021. Now, from the press release from Dr. Matshidiso Moeti, the Regional Director of WHO, he said today on 4th February, WHO is the international community in commemorating World Cancer Day under the theme I am and I will, marking the end point of this 3-year campaign, which has sought to reduce fear, increase understanding, and change behaviors and attitudes around cancer.
Over the past 20 years, new cancer cases have more than doubled in the African region, from 338,000 cases reported in 2002 to almost 846,000 cases in 2020.
Now, he went further to say that the most common forms are cancers of the breast, cervix, prostate, bowel, colon, rectum, and liver. The risk factors include older age and family history, use of tobacco and alcohol, a diet high in sugar, salt, and fat, physical inactivity, being overweight, and exposure to specific chemicals, among others.
In many African communities, people have limited access to cancer screening and early detection, diagnosis and treatment. For example, only about 30% of African children diagnosed with cancer survive, compared to 80% of children in high-income economies. Challenges in access to cancer care are further compounded in times of crisis, like the current COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah, on this number 4, we saw on one of the newspaper headlines that we read, that the presidency is yet to deliver the promise of a cancer care center,
and then just 3 radiological centers in the country.
all over Nigeria. So it is really important, while we're creating awareness for the fight against cancer, that government takes that responsibility to see how all of these things can be put in place to help.
Before you go over to the next point, because I was talking to somebody the other day.
All right.
And then I saw that on the front page of the day. I was like, oh, buttressing my point. Because, I mean, COVID-19 is the order of the day. It is deadly. But we're beginning to forget that there are other deadlier diseases like cancer. And because of that, lots of sensitization and awareness and attention is being paid to COVID-19 and forgetting that cancer, treatment, you're sick of cancer or something, and then you have to, they have to pay attention to COVID patient first, or you have to get tested for COVID first. So no priority is placed on ailments like cancer, which are actually, which is actually more deadlier than COVID. And I saw that this one, I was like, oh yeah. See, now between the COVID-19 pandemic, the cases have risen, even more deaths have risen. Yeah.
That calls for a quick action from, or a call to action rather, for our healthcare practitioners to try to find a balance, right there. Now, moving on, still on the press release from the regional director of WHO in commemoration of the World Cancer Day, he says the African region also bears the highest burden on cervical cancer among WHO regions, and so the World Health Assembly's adoption in 2020 of the global strategy to accelerate the elimination of cervical cancer as a public health problem was of key relevance to African countries. As part of the first wave countries implementing this strategy, Eswatini, Guinea, Malawi, Rwanda, Uganda, and Zambia are scaling up comprehensive cervical cancer programs.
Moving over to the 6th point, he says, as countries work towards achieving universal health coverage with WHO's support, provision of cancer services, including pain relief, should be integrated in benefits packages and social insurance schemes. To strengthen cancer services, capacity building is needed of health workers at a district level, along with implementation of a comprehensive surveillance system and investment in digital innovations to improve cancer care.
Now, he concludes by saying that we all have a role to play in reducing stigma around cancer, improving understanding of this disease, and encouraging people to seek early screening and care.
Yes.
This last point is really, really crucial and really important, because we need to stop the stigmatization
of cancer,
especially when as regards patients and all of that. And very important is also improve the awareness, because while I was reading a lot of reasons why people could develop this disease, I saw overweight. I never had thought that being overweight could also be responsible. I just thought about forgive me, but then I just thought about friends that I know, family members that I know that and all of that, and I felt like, oh, I didn't know this before this time.
Okay.
And
there's something else that I always said. You would think that a lot of people know that cancer is actually very pronounced in the African setting. But I spoke to quite a number of persons, and surprisingly, what they said is, that's a white man disease. That doesn't happen to Africans. I mean, cancer is not an African thing. And so when you hear an African, or particularly Nigerian, say, I have cancer, like, it's not cancer, it's something else. I'm like, are you guys serious? You actually do think that cancer is actually not an African. It selects race and stuff like that.
So that's where creating a very robust awareness comes into play. All right, it's still the conversation on TOS TV Network, your digital first Pan-African news network. And we've been on the segment of The Big Story, where we've brought you the press release from the regional director of the World Health Organization in commemorating the the World Cancer Day. Well, one of our special reporter here on TOS TV, Uche Naude, has a special report to showcase to commemorate the World Cancer Day. Let's take a look at it, and the conversation will be right back.
Of May 2015, I lost my mom to breast cancer.
Mother's name is Mercy Marachi. She had ovarian cancer and she didn't survive the cancer.
I lost a friend to breast cancer last year.
COVID-19 has had adverse effects on humanity, especially on people with underlying health conditions like cancer. In recent times, sensitization and awareness for a deadly ailment like cancer has been relegated to the background. World Cancer Day is observed yearly on the 4th of February, an initiative taken by the Union for International Cancer Control to sensitize people on the prevention, early detection, and treatment of cancer.
However, the most important thing is testing. If you can detect cancer early, then you can prevent it. And you cannot detect it early if you do not test. Now, that capacity in Africa, not only Nigeria, is quite low. The testing capacity for Africa is very, very low. So we collaborate with international organizations to boost our capacity to be able to do that by getting funding or getting the equipment themselves in to the country for testing to be accessible. Because even when there's testing, the cost of testing also is a challenge.
This mounts a pressure on sensitization and underlines the critical role of cancer prevention as a means to reduce the future cancer burden. Studies have shown that where you live determines your chances of surviving cancer, as there are striking differences in the mortality rates and in the prevalence of certain types of cancer across the world. For instance, while cervical cancer remains a rare case of death among women in Europe and North America, 90% of annual cervical cancer deaths occur globally in low and middle income countries, with the highest burden borne by sub-Saharan African countries.
Cervical cancer kills over 100,000 women in Africa every year, and that figure is going up every year as we know it. The last time the statistics was taken was in 2013. Over 300,000 women already have been affected by cervical cancer, and that is one cancer that can be prevented and that can be eradicated quickly in our society. How do you go about that? There is a vaccine that has been developed to eradicate cervical cancer. Cervical cancer is usually contracted only by women, but the virus that makes it happen in women is carried by men. Now, how do you eradicate that in Africa? Now, what we do is that we talk to young children. You have to get the vaccine, the HPV vaccine, before the age of 13. Between the age of 9 and 13, you have to be vaccinated against it. So once the boys and the girls are vaccinated, they stand the chance of not having cervical cancer in their generation. That is one type of cancer that actually can be eradicated.
Prevention measures include eliminating exposure to lifestyle and environmental risk factors, including tobacco and alcohol, dietary factors, excess body weight, UV radiation, and increasing resistance to infection by vaccination.
Early detection, yes, people know about it. Testing, yes, people know about it, but they cannot afford it. Now, apart from the one that we pay money to know, which other one can we do without money? Your lifestyle. We tell people how their lifestyle can influence, avoidance of cancer. If you live well, eat the right foods, do your exercises, you stand the chance not to have cancer. But most people would eat late, sleep late, take a lot of alcohol, drink a lot of alcohol. All these things affect you. For example, lung cancer is basically from smoking causes lung cancer. Your lifestyle actually is very, very, very important. What do you eat? How do you eat it? When do you eat it? And what do you do with your body? It is good to be active so that the free radicals in our bodies are eliminated at the right time when they're supposed to. Otherwise, they build up most of the times they will tell you, most people that know, doctors will tell you better, are the things that lead to people having cancer all the time. So our lifestyle is does a lot about it.
Many African countries have taken bold steps in addressing the prevention of cancer by developing the National Cancer Control Plans, which has helped surmount the pressures of sensitization. It is evident that increased cancer awareness in Africa is resulting in notable success stories like the universal coverage of breast and cervical cancer services that were recently recorded in Senegal. However, limited access to quality and affordable cancer services, poor surveillance and research structures, and unresponsive health policies to NCDCs remains a challenge that continues to demand a global coalition of actors to improve outcomes in Africa, says Zainab Shinkafi Bagudu, founder, Medic Aid Cancer Foundation, Nigeria. This year, we are encouraged to always remember the enduring power of cooperation and collective action because our actions have an impact on everyone around us. Together, all our actions matter.
Welcome back to the conversation here on TOS TV Network. And that was a special report on World Cancer Day. I hope you learned one or two things. You learned what to do and what not to do. You know how to, further sensitize people on cancer and, preventive measures and everything else in between. Okay, now we move over to my favorite segment of the program. That is the trending on social media segment now. So every day, as I always say, every day is something new. There's something to laugh about when you go to the trend table on Twitter or on social media. You just see different tweets that get you cracking up, and you wonder, how do people think of these things, or how do people come up with this? It's like somebody just sits in their room and just comes up with something and just tweet, and then it's hilarious. And you're like, what goes through people's minds when they post stuff like this? So I have random tweets like that I'm going to read out for you today. The first one is from Moniz at Moniz_. She says, I remember the time I got dumped via WhatsApp while I was on my way to pick my nephew at preschool. Guess what? I came home with the wrong child.
I don't want to say. I have a story that relates to this. Anyway,
heartbreak, yeah.
Yeah. Do you want me to share it?
Yes, please. I like to hear stories like that.
It's quite a very funny story. Anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, after the breakup kind of thing, I was just used to going to this lady's place every time. I was always going to visit her. So one day I was going somewhere else, but before I could know what was happening, I was on my way to her house. When I got to the street, I was like, this is not where I was coming to. How did I get here? Heartbreak is not a good thing. Trust me.
It's hilarious. I've never had to experience that, thankfully. And then this one.
Thank heavens you haven't.
This one, and I have never made someone experience that, hopefully. And then this one is on Valentine's Day. It says, having a vow is not my ticket to heaven. Stop asking me if I have a vow. I'm in on this one. People should stop.
Yeah, asking. Everybody's asking. Who's your vow? Who's your vow? Who's your
stop
vow?
Asking me.
Is it a ticket to heaven?
I mean,
really?
Guys, stop it. Valentine's coming, yeah. If you're that particular about, just give me a gift. Buy me something, just buy.
Yeah.
Just buy me something.
Shoot your shot regardless, if there's a vow there or not.
I mean,
you know that portion of the Bible where they say that People are scared to go out because they think that there's a lion on the street.
On the street, yeah.
You know, but come on. You know, and then guys do that very funny thing. They want to inquire in a way there's somebody, you know, in the
so
building.
they know whether to step back or don't worry, just
go ahead regardless. If you want to shoot.
And then this one is, I think, on relationship. He says, as long as you do male bestie, no vex, we no fit date. I know fit they run for inside sleep because I get babe a bed.
Why do I seem to relate to all the tweets you have today? Why do I seem to relate to
Let me hear that one. I want to hear it.
Well, so personally for me, if it's I don't know what to call it. I don't want to call it a turn off, but it's a red flag. If I come close to you as a lady and I discover that you have a male bestie, I'll be very skeptical because, man, I've experienced this bestie thing. You know, it's not a good experience, trust me.
But what is aside from your personal experience, but what do you think is the issue with actually having a male best friend as a lady?
Okay, for me, now the truth of the matter is this, you know, when it comes to relationships, when you keep talking to a particular person over and over again, over time you build intimacy, over time you build friendship, over time it becomes solid. Now, the bad thing about that, or the negative thing about that is, if your partner becomes so close to the bestie that he knows everything that there is to be known about her, let me put it this way: he's got an understanding rather of her more than you do. It's going to cause a friction in your relationship. So for example, the guy knows how to, if the lady is angry or the lady is depressed or down, he knows how to maneuver and get her out of that situation. I'm coming better, but that role or that responsibility is supposed to fall on your partner.
Okay.
You know, and then if he's unable to do that, you as a lady will begin to process it, and that's why you see people encourage that, before you guys go into that dating and courting phase, it is also good that you build friendship. You know, you have that rapport already, so you understand yourself. So the danger in it is when the bestie has more understanding of the lady than her actual partner. It could cause friction.
But does it go both ways? We're having
it does go both. It does go both ways too. Because if it is if it is the guy that has and let me say this: if a guy has a bestie, you know, that is female, that could cause more problem. Yes. Because if the lady is aware, and that is going to cause suspicion for the lady, you know, the lady is going to be suspicious. I say, this is your bestie, you know, she's always giving you gifts, she's always giving you, and then they say there's no smoke without a fire. Now let me tell you this: for every bestie, whether male or female, there's a hidden agenda somewhere.
Are you sure?
Somebody likes somebody. I'm telling you.
Are you sure? Okay. So what would you say? What are you advising that if I have a male best friend and then I start a new relationship, I should cut ties?
No. You don't necessarily have to cut the person off. What I would advise is that there should be a clear boundary. Okay. You should set a clear boundary. What should be allowed of your bestie and shouldn't be allowed of. For example, your bestie should not spend the night in your apartment. Okay. Even if, in quotes, nothing's going to happen. Okay. But how do you explain to your partner that nothing's going to happen?
So not to cause violence,
So you just get that boundary. I just give that as an instance. Yeah. There are other instances, you know, that are there. So all you need to do is create a boundary, and then also you could also create trust.
All right.
You know, let your partner know that this person is a basic friend, and you know where that happens a lot of times is when you meet the bestie way before you met your partner.
Yeah.
You know, so your bestie has been with you, let's say 5 years.
I've seen partners come and go.
Probably. And then partners come and go, and it's still there.
Yeah.
And you tell me that there's no agenda? No. There's agenda. Okay. A lot of times, those people really, really like the person in question, but there's not been a avenue for the both of them to be in a relationship.
There's a chance it could be just platonic though.
That's what I'm saying. Of course. So even if it's platonic, how do you now manage issues like suspicion? You know,
so that's where creating boundaries comes.
Do you understand? How do you manage those other issues that will arise? You know, a lot of times it could be really, really platonic and just basic and nothing attached to it. But then there are also some kind of you don't want to take chances. That's what I have to say.
Okay, let's not take chances. Just create boundaries are actually very important in every kind of relationship, though. Whether friendship, work relationship, romantic relationship, everything. There should be boundaries. You should know what to cross and what not to cross, and what to do and what not to do. Okay, that's it on the What's Trending segment for this morning, and that is it on the conversation this morning. I hope you had a fun time, because I did. And do not forget to be a part of the community and part of the conversation by following us across all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Is TOS TV Network.
Do well to follow us also on our website daily to get news updates on politics, business, and development. Subscribe, to our YouTube channel. Our website is www.tostvnetwork.com. Until we come your way again next time.
Being tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah, Friday. Do have a great time. My name is Osaze Isesele.
And I am Adesa. I'll see you.